What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome again to another episode of Tuffy Talk, and we got another exciting episode today because it's really just, again, another opportunity for another winner of one of our giveaways to appear with us, and again, just talk state stuff. And especially right now, there's a lot of good stuff going for NC State. Obviously, coming off of a huge win against Clemson. Right now there's a lot of excitement with women's basketball and swimming and diving and you name it. So I know we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. And so first of all, I want to welcome Tyler here with us, one of our winners of the giveaway. So Tyler, thank you so much for joining us here today, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. Glad to have you. So first of all, I want to kind of start off. So, kind of tell us a little bit about, where you're from, what your history is with NC State. Just kind of give an overview of yourself as a person, but also too as a State fan.
Okay. So I grew up in Western North Carolina. I was born and raised an NC State fan. My dad graduated in '76. So I've grown up coming to basketball games, football games. And it was kind of tough because where I grew up, there weren't really that many NC State fans. So I recruited my best friends. And so we've had our strong group of, diehard NC State fans. And I went to State, graduated high school in 2002 and went to State and pursued other things. I never finished, but, my love for the school is just, everybody that knows me knows that I'm a diehard State fan. So after the game Saturday, I was getting messages during the game and after the game, people didn't know if I was there or not, but they were assuming that I probably was. So
yeah,
it was awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that, especially for, it sounds like yourself, but also probably people like Macon and myself or whatever who, people will say, were you at the game on Saturday? It's like, you think we would be anywhere else than be there for that game with that opportunity to beat Clemson? We wouldn't miss that for anything. So, no. So what was your –
I actually have a wedding. I have a wedding coming up I'm supposed to go to. It's the same day as the Louisville game, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of that. But it's gonna depend on the time of how I can juggle this thing. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like with the Louisville game. The game will depend a lot on which Malik Cunningham you get. So, if you get the not so great Malik Cunningham, it might not be that great of a game. But if you do get the good Malik Cunningham, it might be a close game. So it's kind of like a 50-50 shot. And if it's worth, trying to jump through hoops, to make happen. So, so want to kind of, just give us like your initial thoughts of the Clemson game. Obviously, huge win for sure. But maybe even kind of take a step back too. So maybe before the Clemson game had started, what was your kind of take on Doeren? Were you sold on Doeren before the Clemson game, and this maybe kind of sold you a little bit, or were you already kind of on the Doeren train?
When I was talking to these guys last week, I love Coach Doeren. I love his coaching philosophy. I love his recruiting philosophy. I like the way that he teaches. When you listen to him in his press conferences, he sounds like a professor. He is just very detailed with, the terminology that he uses. But we've really struggled to really have these major wins. And, I felt like this was a must-win game for us because we've been so close. And, there was a lot of grumblings from the fan base after the Mississippi State loss. And, I don't think they would have fired him after that, but I think he really needed this one to kind of galvanize the fan base to really show like it's working. The process is working itself out. And, we haven't had that proof of it. I felt like it was there. You see these recruits that we're bringing in, they're high character kids. They're, quality football players, but the wins haven't really been there. And so I was kind of torn on it. I really like him. I'm been holding out for it, but we needed something to really prove that we were getting over, because we've been so close. It felt like 2016 again, where we felt like we were building to something else, and then we had that letdown, and it's like it felt like it set us back, and we needed something to just kind of a catalyst to shoot us up, and recruiting and for the excitement within the program. And I
Well,
knew we could do it, but I wasn't sure.
Well, because one thing over the weekend, which really stood out to me, that kind of I look at as kind of an example of maybe what state was in 2016, was look at Auburn. This past week. So the week before they lost to Penn State, it was a tough game, a really back and forth game. It was close, and then they lost, and then they went up and lost to Georgia State. You kind of see that. That obviously that Penn State game lingered, and it obviously held on to
Right.
them. So I kind of look at that and I go, hey, I mean, with NC State, we're kind of through that phase. Hopefully now we're again. I mean, because every single year, if you kind of group years together, you kind of see the progression, and it's getting better and better and better. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in agreement, but yeah, I definitely think that I agree with you that having this major win is just basically just to sell all fans that Dorn's our guy for long term.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Right. And I think it kind of proves you still kind of have the haters from the outside that are going to try to minimize what we did. But, I think it kind of, proves to everyone else too, like, okay, these boys, they are for real. That was a fluke. That was, an outlier. That's not going to be who this team really is. So,
yeah, because everybody's talking about how bad Clemson's offense is. And it's like, could it possibly be that maybe we just have a really good defense? I mean, is that a possibility?
right.
I'll tell you what, that's bugged me.
Right.
It's like, it's not like you're playing like Pembroke or anything like that. It's,
Right.
you're playing like a team that's always has been pretty known to have a solid, pretty good football program. So I don't know why it's like this. Oh, well, like Paul Feinbaum was like, oh, let's all, I don't know if they're going to have a great, where's Clemson's program heading now? Like they're just going, like, that should to me to be just like an insult. Like, it's like, you really think we're that bad?
Well, I mean, they were winning national championships, winning AC championships all the way through last year and going to college football playoffs left and right. It's like, and again, I was kind of laughing with the Clemson fans going, are you going to fire Dabo Swinney? Like, do you want him fired now? Like, come on now. Seriously? Like, don't be questioning Dabo because of one bad season, okay? It's going to happen. It's going to happen, especially when you lose guys like Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, and you're having now as many injuries as they've had now, with Breesy being out for the season. It's going to be a tough road, but I mean, I think agree.
You look at it too. They played Georgia, who has maybe the best defense in the country, and then they play Georgia Tech in a tight game, who actually may be better than what people thought that they were. They sure looked good Saturday night, and then our defense. So it's not like they're playing, bad teams either, and barely winning. So
that's true.
And they're loaded with 4- and 5-star recruits still. So
yes, they are. Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flightlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flightlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flightlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flightlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. Yes, they are.
Yeah, I'm curious to know, if you said you were at the game, can you just take us through what you were thinking, going at the end of regulation and then going into double overtime at the end of the game? What were your thoughts?
So, when it felt like, when I came into the game to begin with, came into the stadium like 45 minutes before kickoff, it felt like there was electricity in the stadium even then. And I texted one of my best friends who's a State fan, and I texted my girlfriend and said, this place feels electric. We'll see how that plays out. And throughout the game, you could tell we were dominating them. We were pushing them around. We were dominating every statistical category. And it felt like one of these things where if we can just gain some traction and hit some of those big plays, that we could kind of cruise, but we weren't doing it. And when we missed the 2 field goals, I kind of just pushed it off because I know Chris Dunn is like inside 40-yard lines. He's basically money, but outside of that, he's struggled a little bit more, especially over 50. So when we're, especially the 3rd and 4th quarter, we cleaned up the penalties and we're just chunk plays the entire game. And and we're grinding them down. You could look at their players, their defensive linemen, and they have their hands on their hips. You could tell they were tired. They're trying to sub players in and out. And you could tell we were grinding them down. And so when we went, the score was basically the same as it was in 2016. Right. So there's always that, like, in the back of our minds, like we're trying to not talk about, don't mention the shutout type thing. Don't mention the perfect game.
Yep.
But it's like it was setting up exactly the same. And it's funny that I heard Doran in his press conference say exactly what I said during the game to my dad was, as we're marching down the field and I can tell we're going to get close enough, I'm thinking this is going to be redemption. Chris Dunn is going to redeem himself. He's an outstanding kicker. He's going to redeem himself. And this is the great way to write this story, like it's completely different. Like you thought it was the same as 2016, but it's not. Yeah, it's completely different. We're going to win it this time. And they even did the same thing same as Ryan Finley, where, you run it to the middle of the field to line him up for a straight on kick. Yeah, take a knee. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to make it. And from where I was sitting, which that's the side of the field that I was on the home side, it looked like it went through. It was plenty long.
It was close.
I thought it was too. Yeah, I did too.
But again,
we celebrated. I was hollering like, and then I saw the ref wave it off, and I thought, oh my God, not again. Please, no, not again.
Well, in my immediate thoughts, obviously went out to Chris Dunn, and just thinking back to the Kyle Banbar situation, and immediately thinking to myself, I please pray to everything that, again, people need to learn at the end of the day that, God, I mean, dude, Chris Dunn is one of the biggest competitors on that team, and he's also one of the best in his position on meaning he's a great kicker. He is a great kicker. And this game does not change anything, any opinion about that. So, like, for example, like Doran, I think it was Joe Ovies today in his press conference, Joe Ovies asked him,
I can't stand Joe.
Would you, when you scored the touchdown in the first overtime, did you think about going for two? And Joe may not have meant it like this, but Doran kind of took that as, are you saying just because Chris Dunn missed us field goals that I wouldn't go for two? Like he immediately pointed out saying Chris Dunn's made 119 straight PATs. So no, I had 100% confidence in him. Yeah. I still have 100% confidence if I had to go for a 50-yard field goal against Louisiana Tech to kick that field goal. I still have the same confidence in him. And even more confidence, I would say. Right. Because, again, I pointed this out on our live stream, and I'll point out to you again, Tyler. At the end of the day, he is such a competitor that for the team to literally put his arm around him, say, hey, Chris, we got you, bro. We got this for you. And to pull out a game like that shows me the chemistry and the respect that these players have for each other. And I guarantee you, Chris is going to be making some field goals this year that he probably maybe wouldn't have otherwise, or like beforehand, because he is going to be more to say, you had me this game, I'm going to get you this game. Watch this, boys. So
it seemed like it was almost like it was, like you said, it was setting up perfectly to be, this poetic redemption of we're going to beat Clemson this time on a last second kick, and then the football gods were just like, no, we're just messing with you.
Right. So I felt physically sick when we missed it. I was so nervous after that.
Yeah. But again, it's really just showed the progression of this program, that fact that we were able to fight back, stay strong, stay to what we've been doing the entire game, and make the plays we needed to win. Because at the end of the day, we made the plays Clemson didn't, which I think that says a lot about this program. I really do. So
I do too. And I think a lot of that comes from like the 2019 season, where a lot of the games that year felt that same way, where it was like we were kind of in it for a while, and then there would be a play that just ripped your heart out. And all those young guys that were playing then, they grew up and really matured and came together as a team. And all those guys are our leaders right now. And they weren't gonna let it slip away. It was awesome.
So let me ask you this. So now we've got the win on our belt. What are your thoughts of the program, like the team right now? We're 3-1. 1-0 in the ACC, going back to back playing at home. Another night game, which I can't believe we've had this many night games so far this season.
Amazing.
Can't either.
Yeah, it's like noon games. It'll happen. And honestly, if we get a noon game at this point, I'll be like, fine, that's fine with me. We've had so many. But what are your thoughts about where this team is?
I'm really excited about the future. So, I mean, we have so much depth, which we're having to use right now with the guys that we have injured. But these guys have played a lot of football for us for years, and they're the leaders on the team. They're the starters, but there's so much talented depth behind them. And so I'm excited about what that means for this year, and I'm excited about what it means for the future too, because every one of these games that's left on the schedule look very winnable right now. And because of that maturity that we have, I don't anticipate there being let down games or games that we, trap games we're looking past. I don't think that the leaders on the team will allow that to happen. I don't think
no way
that will be in the discussion. So
no way.
Every single game seems winnable, and they're going to be tough. I think a lot of the games will be nearly as tough as the one Saturday, because there's some really talented teams left in the ACC on our schedule.
I agree with that. I think that's a really good observation, because, I know Clemson's a top 10 team. You could argue a lot of ways that State going into the game was the better team. What'd I say?
Well, you said they were a top 10 team. Like, well, not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. That's right. Yeah. My whole point is, though, you're going to have to go and play on the road at an undefeated Wake Forest team right now that we have not had a good record playing in Winston-Salem. And then Boston College. I think the Wake Forest game makes me nervous the most. I actually think the Miami game is going to be sneaky tough, because it's so far away from home, and they're so talented. They just need to get their act together. That Boston College, they have to go and play Clemson this week after Clemson lost. Granted, they could still beat Clemson.
That's going to be a heck of a game.
But then they have to then go and play us. So Boston College has to play Clemson and then NC State as their first two conference games, I believe. I don't think they've played anybody else. So no, but not in a conference game. So that's going to be big for them. It's going to be big for Boston College. So to me, it's going to be very interesting how these things shake up moving forward. Well,
and the one thing too, actually, with Wake Forest, I'm actually confident because of the fact that arguably your best offensive player right now is Emeka Mezi. I think we could, argue that or agree on that altogether right now.
It's arguable. Yeah. I think that's for debate.
So this guy, 4 years ago, the last time he went to Wake Forest, all but famously fumbled at the goal line, and obviously was emotional as all get out, because I know he felt like we lost that game because of him, which obviously I think all State fans would agree it wasn't because of him. That was an opportunity, but it wasn't because of him. So for this game, 4 years later, and he has grown leaps and bounds into arguably now a NFL caliber talent that definitely I think NFL teams will take a look at. And I see this guy going off that game. I see an experienced, talented wide receiver with a point to prove, being like, you had me that time. Well, watch me this time, man. And I'm like, I'm going to go get 150 yards receiving. I'm going to get 2 touchdowns, and we're going to score 35 on you easily, and defense will take care of it. And because again, Wake is 100% respectable. I think they're as solid of a team as they come. I just don't know, and if you were looking at the teams that you would, I would take NC State's team right now over Wake. But again, it's exciting for me though. Honestly, I love that. Honestly, the Atlantic is coming down to Boston College, Wake Forest, and NC State right now. I think that everybody's looking at those teams.
I will say this though: Clemson could still, they could still win it. It's not like that they're just totally out of it. No. But now they have a little bit of a tougher road.
Yeah.
And when they have a third string running back, they're going to have to go for the rest of the season for the most part.
A lot of it,
that ain't going to be easy. No. But that's only that I'm going to say.
I just don't feel like that. If Clemson doesn't have the leaders to bounce back from a iffy win against Georgia Tech against us, I just don't know if they're going to be able to bounce back against just as good of a team as in Boston College. Again, it's not necessarily going to get easier for them. It's still going to be, I can't remember who it was. I was listening to, somebody who was saying, that when people approached him after they lost to Georgia and were asking him, well, how's the college football playoff committee going to look at a one-loss Clemson? And he literally went back saying, how do you know they're done losing? And then they lost to NC State. People say, how do you think the college football playoffs committee is going to look at it?
Right.
2-loss Clemson. How do you know they're done losing? Like, so it's a crazy thing right now.
They just get the benefit of the doubt because they're Clemson.
Exactly. So yeah, Tyler. So kind of jumping into a little bit of difference. So wanted to kind of ask a little bit about. So obviously, looking at kind of some of the other sports. So are there any specific sports that you follow specifically outside of football? Mainly
I follow basketball. Yeah, basketball pretty close, but mainly I'm diehard football. I don't follow basketball as closely as I used to, but I still follow the team pretty close, and recruiting a little also.
I gotcha. Well, cool. we'll save that here for the next episode, actually. So we'll jump into that. But one last question I wanted to ask, just kind of fun, is I think that it's very clear to me, and I know that a lot of people have been talking about it recently, and actually Macon and I were part of a All Sports ACC podcast. And one of the things that they had actually said to us is how amazing of a job Debbie Yao did here at NC State.
Oh, yeah.
And so I wanted to kind of ask you a little bit in terms of like what your thoughts were on Debbie's legacy at NC State, and, kind of what your thoughts overall were of her time here and the mark that she made.
I think her legacy is obviously that she elevated every single team, every sport. She has, we have championship caliber programs for, so many other sports. And I think when you add on to the fact that she's Kay Yao's sister, and so it just kind of compounds that legacy a little bit more.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
the homage she pays to the past, and, with Reynolds and the renovations there. And I think that she's blended the past with the present and taken it to the future with the way she's elevated things.
Yep. And one last fun question. Who's your favorite NC State football player ever?
Ever? My freshman year, Phillip Rivers was still the quarterback. And that's the year that my freshman year is the year that we beat Florida State at home and rushed the field in and went to the Gator Bowl and beat Notre Dame. So it was always fun watching Phillip and how fired up, he would be on the field. So he's still entertaining when he does interviews. So
he's awesome. He's hilarious.
I'd say Phillip.
He's hilarious. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much again for tuning in. Please make sure, again, if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner, as it really helps support us in the channel. And also do make sure to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram, as we're always doing giveaways. We're always talking, state updates and etc. So make sure to follow us there. And then also, too, make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Check out all of our other great NC State content. Always come out with new and exciting stuff. So make sure to always tune in and make sure to join us for our next episode. And thank you all so much for joining again. As always, go Pack, y'all.